Okay, it is 11 o'clock on Tuesday, October 4th, and I will call the City of Lacey Transportation Committee meeting to order. It looks like we have a one-item agenda. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve the agenda for the Transportation Committee meeting.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mike, are you in favor of the motion?
He's frozen.
Oh,
Hey, aye. Aye.
okay. That motion passes unanimously. We have an agenda, and it looks like our agenda item is the 57th Street traffic calming device, and that will be presented by Martin Hobby.
Thanks. Yeah, we're just following up from last month. What we did is terrified of putting a small project out to bid like this. I figured the cost would be really high, but what we did is we talked with the shop, and they could install this for about $25,000. So what we did is we came back and let me share my screen and looked at the boundaries a little closer.
Martin, when you say they can install this for 25, are you saying the permanent or the temporary?
The permanent. Okay. The temporary are free. I was actually talking to the shop this morning. We do have some old ones at the pit site, but all the hardware rusted away. So we were talking about using an epoxy of some type or glue to glue them down. That's what we're thinking for the temporary ones. Is that readable?
Yes.
Okay.
Before we continue,
Yeah.
Alyssa, do we have anybody from the neighborhood in the watching this or as part of the audience or?
If there are, nobody's raised their hand or anything.
Okay,
Yeah, I could tell you my conversation with Ron after the neighborhood, but we basically had the two options. One is using all the cul-de-sacs. And the other
As a-
one.
Like
is-
the cul-de-sacs being the place where we shrink the people that we look at as.
Right, but it's like this cul-de-sac here, we either did it with just the people fronting 57th Avenue, and then we expanded it out to include all who live off of 57. Those two options, the $25,000, the larger one would be $180 per household. And the smaller one would be about $380 per household. So those are kind of the two options. And really, that's what we need to do is get that determination on what the neighborhood boundary is. I did talk to Ron Stormer after the meeting last time, and he had a couple of things that he did want to be kept in the loop. He didn't want to spend a lot of time on this, is what his main focus seemed to be. And he also mentioned he's thinking about selling his house and just moving from there. So those were the three main things that he was emphasizing, but he thought it would be a lot of time to try to get these petitions put together.
So Martin, can you talk about the merits of either option one versus option two, and then how you came up with the boundaries?
I think that was based on the discussion last time. Usually when we do a neighborhood, we try to get everybody that fronts that street. And I think we have had some emails from, do you live in here?
Yeah. Or no, it was on
59, right?
58th court.
58th Ward.
Yeah.
So we have had some discussions with somebody on 58th Court, must have known about the meeting last month because he sent us an email saying that he thinks it's a really good idea. So I think the biggest thing is to get the larger one brings the cost down significantly. The smaller one, these people do get the benefit of the traffic calming.
What about 57th Place Southeast, which is to the left?
That was one we took off last month. We originally had it in there, but they really don't see the benefit there.
So
I think this might be better.
if we're trying to figure out the, the larger one, the smaller one, first of all, we don't have to do that in this meeting, do we? Or is that?
That'd be nice.
It'd be nice if we got it done this. Well, and the reason I say that is because if it's gonna come down to a matter of buy-in from, the residents that on this map and in that red line. And if we don't get enough buy-in from those guys, I guess, then is it possible, I guess what I'm asking, is it possible that we can go for this and say, hey, maybe if we can make connection with these people, and maybe if we can, bring them into the loop and they are willing to be participants or at least entertain this, then, we would be at the 77 people. And the cost sharing would be better. But if we can't get any interest from these people in the cul-de-sacs, then a vote would be easier with the 33 people. Is that?
Correct, absolutely.
Robin has her hand raised.
Oh, sorry, Councilmember Vasquez.
No worries. I agree. It would be nice to get the feedback on this directly from the neighborhood, but I think starting with a larger group, which makes the proposition cheaper, might be a good first place to start. And then, like you said, shifting it to the smaller group that has a greater vested interest, even though the cost would be a little bit more.
And then I thought Scott had his hand raised also, but he's not on the screen anymore. Did he disappear?
Scott, did you have something?
Yeah, my personal opinion is that the larger district will fail. And that is because the people that are most concerned about speeding are typically only the ones that are fronting that issue. And, my concern about doing this twice is just that it takes staff time and resource to do this. So, I guess my recommendation would be to go to the smaller district because those are the people that are more impacted. Just my personal opinion is that the larger district will fail. And I'm kind of concerned about our time and resources. Is that the best use of our time to run iterations when the first iteration is likely to fail?
That's the exact reason why I'm saying if we can't, get the buy-in from the larger group, then, and so as you say that, it just makes me think, if we did go for the smaller group first, because there's a greater likelihood that it'll pass with them. And if they were to speak to their neighbors and say, hey, would you like to be a part of it? Speak to the people in the cul-de-sac, speak to the people, not directly fronting 57th, maybe they could get the buy-in and we could go with a larger group. But, we've seen in the past where even all the houses that fronted it, like on Lebanon, and it didn't pass. And those were people who lived like directly on that street.
Sure.
And so all I'm really trying to think of is a strategy for, the greatest amount of success. Councilmember Vasquez.
Remind me, Martin or Scott, what was the balance of lived in and owned versus rented on Lebanon. Is it similar to this? Because I see the owner occupied is quite high.
Yeah, it was very similar. From what I remember.
So not dramatically different.
So it sounds like we just need to find a way to not have to do this twice.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have a champion. We got the 2 email addresses that we could send it to. I could send them an email and go, because it is very unusual that, you know, they just kind of walk away and say, well, I don't want to do the petition. I just want you to go out and put it in.
I don't want to do any of the work. I just want the results.
Yeah, but I could send them an email and say, you know, the choice is yours.
Well, okay, so then let me ask you this. If we start here and we get the smaller group and we get a majority in the smaller group, we wouldn't need to move on to a larger group. We would just be able to say yes, and if they'd be willing to share the cost. However, if they are interested in lowering the cost, then they could get buy-in from their neighbors, the people in the cul-de-sacs, and say, hey, you know, would you guys be willing to sign on to this? I think that might be a strategy that is going to cost the least amount of full-time hours and has the greatest probability of success.
If I may,
On-
Deputy Mayor,
Please.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
yeah, I would just say, I think this is at minimum is our starting point and most likely our ending point. I mean, we can overthink it and try to make something a yes when it's really a no. But taking everything into consideration, I think this is our best option, and we just run with it and see what happens.
Councilmember Vasquez.
So I appreciate, Martin, that you went and talked to Ron again. And I wonder, since he went to the trouble of coming to the council meeting, even if he doesn't want to be the lead on engaging with his neighbors, I think he already has had some conversations. And I wonder if just asking him, is there anybody else in your neighborhood that would want to be our point of contact on this effort? And so maybe he can throw one of his neighbors under the bus and let that person be the one to help us with the petition circulation. Because there's got to be other people in this neighborhood that have strong enough feelings to at least pick up the phone for us.
Yeah, I could ask them now.
Go ahead, Scott. What do you got?
So I just took a look at the Lebanon map, and rentals there were closer to 40%. So there is a higher percentage of owner occupied in this neighborhood.
Is it possible that we can share with them what we're looking at so they have a better understanding of
Sure.
the decision that we're trying to make? So like if you guys can get these 33 people involved, then you know, or the majority of these 33 people involved, then we're good to go. But if you can't, and then we also share with them the other map, like these are the other people that may have an effect, and we could, you know what I mean? So that they understand what our decision has to be. Because a lot of times if people don't understand the decision you're trying to make, they can't really, you know, be 100% involved in the process or feel vested in the process.
No, we can do a mailing list to everybody in here, owners and renters, and say, you know, these are our options, and we had the request, does anybody like to spearhead this process?
Yeah,
Yeah, we could do that.
yeah, because
So to clarify, to move this forward, is it the next step that we need a petition from the neighborhood?
Yes.
So they need to initiate the next step. We can provide them with the options. but
Right, we can
they
say,
need to-
here's what we got.
Someone from the neighborhood has to
We need somebody
take
to,
the next step.
and when you do take a step, here's the direction of the step that you might want to consider.
Yep, I got a bunch of letters that I could just plagiarize and send it to them.
So at least we give them the full, you know, picture of what is and what we hope that will be.
Well, and again, for clarity, we do need a neighborhood champion to be able to circulate the petition, to say, this is why we're doing this, this is the benefits of it. Explain to them it's not gonna cost anything if they approve it, because it's only temporary. There'll be another vote, and if it is effective, then there would be the potential for an investment.
Correct.
So the main person that we were working with before sounds like he's not really interested in doing that. So at this point, I'm not sure if it'll move forward. If that main person is not really interested, if he's talking about moving.
I'm not either. And if Ron Stormer doesn't want to be a part of it because of the time that it's gonna take to get it done, there might be somebody else who says, you know what, I'll take the lead. But they won't know that unless we tell them what's happening and show them what we're looking at.
Won't we ask the neighbors if, you know, we got an email list, I'm sure, some way to contact them, ask them if there's no reply, I'll go to these 69 houses and ask them.
I could we could do a billing list real easy for that entire area and just send them all a letter.
Yeah, well, maybe for the benefit of the committee, the whole point of this traffic calming policy is because residents have come to the city saying there's a problem. So theoretically, if there is a problem, they would be vested in making sure that there's a solution for that problem. So they would champion, stand up and say, yes, I'll take this petition forward. So that step really should be owned by the neighborhood.
And I think
I agree, but there's a level of frustration, and especially when it's you know, politically you know, underlined issue, you know, you're dealing with government, and I don't know, they've came to us, so there's obviously a you know, a request or a want. Whether or not everybody agrees with it is another thing, but
Well, right, but I'd submit another word for frustration is motivation. So if they should be motivated to circulate the petition.
I agree, but I mean, I'm also willing to, I mean, I haven't doorbelled this neighborhood, and I'll do it again. I probably need to get out anyways and get some exercise, so, but by all means, reach out to them and see if there's somebody that wants to do it for me.
I think somebody will step forward if we give them what they
I
need.
think so too.
So are we in agreement then?
Yes, what I'm hearing is the next phase is to solicit, petition this area, see who will stand up and be a leader of this group, and then we'll take it from there and they will circulate the petition.
Paladin.
There you go.
We need a paladin.
That makes it sound really exciting. We should
Doesn't
lead
it?
with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, then it sounds like we are all in agreement that we will mail out to the 33 houses, was it?
69.
Do to a big group.
I think it was option 2, right?
I thought it was option 1. Because we had a greater chance of success with option 1.
Option 1 is big, option 2 is small.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. I thought it was option 2. But
Yeah.
to be honest,
We can't see it from here.
yeah, I can see it. That's option 2 right there. That's,
okay, so are we mailing out to option 1 or option 2?
option 2.
Yeah, I think we're more likely to find someone who has motivation around this issue with option 2.
I agree.
Cool. So we done here?
Do we need a motion for that, do we?
No, we really need a response back to say we found a champion and they're doing the work to circulate the petition.
Okay, so we're all clear. We're gonna mail out to the option 2 group and see if we can find somebody who will champion this cause.
Yeah.
And then we'll, how long will that, how long do we give? Wait, is it a 60 day? Is it-
Well, if you remember Lebanon, we sent it out to them. Nobody responded, so we sent them it out.
That's right. Okay, well, then, as long as it takes.
Okay.
Not to exceed 6 months.
Cool.
Yeah, let's find a champion and then there'll be a defined period of time to see if they can get the required number of votes. All right, yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, well, then that concludes our agenda. Does anybody have anything?
I'll just say it's good that you saw it me and Scott Eggers way.
I'll agree with that.
Just kidding.
Okay, well, then if there's nothing further, and that is our only agenda item, then I will, without